Hello and welcome back. I'm Ruth and this is my channel, Books and Budgets. I have been away from YouTube but not away from budgeting for a couple of weeks, and that means that I have some catching up to do. And rather than space it out over several videos just for the catching up part, I am going to do one big catch up. So let's get started. I don't want it to take too long. I am going to do all of the month of August. So, month of August was very busy for me with teachers starting back. We started back on Tuesday the 6th. Students started back on the 19th. Had some medical issues going on, some medical treatments, all in the month of August. It was very busy. So, where I left off was I had planned the first half of my August budget with you. This was my plan that I had, budgeting $1,650, and this is how I budgeted it out for the entire month, or the first half of the month. I'm sorry, not the entire month. And this was money that I was transferring from my savings account that I had gotten paid at the end of June, the way my school district does it. They pay at the end of June, they pay the June 30th paycheck plus 3 additional paychecks, July 15th, July 31st, and August 15th. So this is the July 31st equivalent. I took all that money and I put it in savings and I transfer it back to my checking account as those dates occur, so that it's just like getting a paycheck. Okay, so I'm going to change colors here to, this is one of my favorite pens. Okay, I'm going to nerd out on pens here for a minute. One of my favorite pens is the Uniball Vision Elite, and I especially love these. This one is a smaller, it's not the .7, it's a smaller, more fine tip, and I love them because they come in inks that are not as bright. They have a blue black and they have a purple black. This is the purple black, so it's a darker kind of a purple. I don't know, it's my favorite pen for journaling for sure. And I just had it nearby and wanted a different color than the black. I don't know if you'll be able to see the difference. Give me just a minute. Let me zoom in and I will be right back with you. All right, that's better. Now, I always carry forward $50. And so that is to be expected. I'm going to tilt this just a little bit so I can write more easily. The actual paycheck was $1,658, and I did have, my son gave me some cash for when we were eating out. He wanted an extra, something extra, appetizer, some kind of thing. So he gave me a little bit of extra money. That means the total that I had actually was $1,713. Okay, so transferred to my checking account, money that I spend or that I collect into it's a separate checking account, money that I collect for shopping. I haven't been shopping in so long. I have to watch it that I don't nickel and dime that money away on, an extra eating out or something that is not necessary. But I don't worry too much about tracking this spending. I don't spend from that account often, and until it really becomes a problem, I'm not going to worry about it. My mortgage, which did go up this summer, is $844.33. I am still blessed that it is only that. My internet, $136.75. The gym said they were going to increase my membership by $5, but they didn't do it this month. I'm not going to call and argue with them. If they do it, they do it. If they don't, they don't. And I don't even feel bad about that. I'm a very honest person, and if I find money, I'm going to return money. If you're overcharging me or undercharging me, I'm going to tell you about it. But there came a point at one time when I was paying $65, and they changed their rates to where any two-person family could have it for $50. And They didn't tell me. And it was that way for, I think, 2 years. And they never gave me any refunds. So as long as they charge me 50, I'm going to pay 50. So not, and completely guilt-free too. They got my $15 a month extra for 2 years. So lawn care, I set aside $30. I get that in cash, and I don't always use it because he does. I'm sorry, I've got kind of the hiccups. He doesn't always come with regularity, or he'll drive by and the yard may not need it, because I only want it cut when it really needs it. I don't want to pay for it, once a week when it doesn't need that. So it's no more than once every 2 weeks, and sometimes it's once every 3. So anyway, all of these actual expenses add up to $1,103.44. Okay. Which leaves me with $609.56. It's always good when you see more left in the actual column after you subtract something than you had budgeted. That means you're on the right track. Moving up to the dreaded groceries. Let me bring this down, $609.56. And groceries wasn't the worst. $238.43. And I know I'm just stubbornly clinging to this 200. There are some months when it really needs to stay pretty close to that because my budget runs a little tighter. But the truth is, this should probably be 225 or 250 if I'm being realistic. This includes budgets and the other kinds of things that you would get at a Walmart. Paper towels, cleaning supplies, dishwashing soap, that kind of stuff. So I'm really probably pretty lucky to keep it as low as it is. Eating out, not as good. Just really had an issue with eating out. Oops, 132. This should be 58. Okay. Car and fuel, I had several out-of-town appointments that I had to do, so $60. It was more than expected. Entertainment, I always take that in cash and keep that in an envelope so that we can go see movies or whatever when we want to. School only ended up with $5.50 that I spent on that. Medical, $8. I think that was for a supplement and like vitamin D, vitamin B, and miscellaneous $15.37. Not even sure I remember what that was. I remember when it's closer to the time, but now it's September, so. Okay, ended up with $479.88. So even though I had overages here, I still ended up with more than I had budgeted. So, no, wait. No, it's pretty close. Pretty darn close. $129.68. I was counting this right here, saying it was more, but yes, this was more than the $405 I had budgeted. When you subtract it from the $609, this is all I had left. It was about $75 more. And when you take $75 off of this, you pretty much end up at $530. So it was very close. What I had in my budget is that I would have $125 remaining. What I had was $129.68. So that means we will be following my budget pretty closely. There will not be extra money, as there is sometimes, for these other sinking funds. Instead, just the $50 for my checking buffer. Bring that down. That leaves $79.68. I'm going to make sure I keep everything in frame. $79.68. I did $60 to home maintenance. I did $15 to my emergency fund, and then what I call my change roundup, which is what I do my Friday fun kind of savings challenges with. This month only got $468, and that's a low month. Sometimes I try to do the next digit over, another 10, but not this month, or not this half of the month. This one was kind of tight. And that brings us to zero-based budget. Okay. And I didn't copy all my tracker information. I do have it on my draft in pencil, but I didn't copy it all on here. I did copy my categories at the end of this paycheck, like I usually do. I add up all my categories, and I add the total too. Let me see. I don't have that with me. And it matches my income total, which helps me to it's just one more way I check all of my numbers. Okay, moving on to the second half of August with the August 15th paycheck. Now, I did neither the budget for this nor the actual, so I'm kind of going through and doing all of it today. So, my budget would be, I come in with $50. I budget $1,600. As you've seen, I make more than that generally per paycheck, but I like to underestimate my income, overestimate my bills just slightly so that I end up with a little cushion, which helps me in the end. This would leave $1,650. Transferring to savings, I always transfer $150. That's going straight to the insurance that is being pulled out of my savings. I don't know why I set it up that way, but I've set it up so that insurance draws from my savings account, and it draws my car insurance, my son's car insurance, and his life insurance premium. Okay, $35 is what I estimate that I pay to my son for the subscriptions. I started to say subs, and then I changed it to subscriptions and said it weird. For the subscriptions that we share, YouTube TV, which is what I use instead of cable, I estimate $80, Netflix $20, my life insurance $60, my hair appointment, which this time is going to be in the first half of September, but the first half of the month is already kind of tight because of my mortgage, so I always budget it in the last half of the month, and then I just carry that money over. I usually get it in cash also because she uses Square, and it started charging her for card payments, so she passes that on to us. It's like a $4 or $5 charge, so I just run by the bank and get the money. Lawn care, $30 if he's coming. Peacock Premium, which is a new subscription that I found out that I could get cheaper than my son because I'm a teacher, so I've shifted it over to me, and we'll be adjusting what I pay him some because of that. All right, my electric bill, I estimate this time $235, and my gas bill. The only gas that I have is my heat. My stove and my hot water heater are both electric, so this is basically just a maintenance fee to keep pressure on the line. No gas is being used. And between the two of these, I average $250 and try to estimate that out as my budget. If it were to go higher than that in the months of extreme heat, the electric bill, or in months of extreme cold, the gas bill, I have a sinking fund where I've been keeping the excess when these bills are less than $250. And so I'm kind of levelizing my own billing. And in fact, that's working so well, I haven't needed any of my excess funds. I've been saving them for almost a year. So that's kind of surprising and great. It's like the good kind of surprise. So I budget $50 for water and sewer. I budget $125 for mine and my son's cell phones. Excuse my voice. It's a little strained sounding, and I've got the coughs and the throat clearings that I'm going to try and edit out completely so that you don't have these. Then at the end, I like to do this at the end of the pay period. Another $120 goes to that insurance fund. But I like to do it there at the end. I don't know why. I'm not sure it makes sense. Anyway, my bills and fixed expenses for the second half of the month come to $1,040, which leaves me with a planned excess of $610. I carry that down here. Budget $200 for groceries, $75 for eating out. That's for roughly a 2-week period. 2 weeks, 2 weeks and 1 day, 15 to 16 days. Because I had some more appointments and I knew some of them were out of town, and I also visited my mom, I budgeted more than I normally do for car and fuel, entertainment, the usual 20, school 20, medical 20, and miscellaneous 20. This total then ends up being for my variable spending is $405. And of the 610, that leaves $205 to go towards savings and sinking funds. Okay. $205 here. $50 always goes to my checking buffer. I also have, like I said, that utility sinking fund, but I don't budget for it because that is only after I find out how much these are going to actually be. So I don't count it in my budget. I know I save $15 in a sinking fund towards car tags and taxes every year, and $25 towards annual, I guess you could call them annual subscriptions, but like Amazon Prime and a museum membership that I have. So home maintenance is my priority sinking fund. I'll save 50 of the remaining amount towards that. Then these I just divide up kind of as I see fit. And apparently this month it struck me that pets and vacation were my second priorities. Car maintenance, gifts, and medical were less, and my emergency fund, which is fully funded for now. I have my starter emergency fund not at $1,000, but at $5,000, and it is fully funded. I can't get away from the habit of putting something into it, so I usually do. But all of this equals $250, and that gets to the zero base. Now, the issue is that it is no longer August, so I have also my actual amounts. Let's see how I did. I did carry over $50 from the first half of the month. My paycheck that I transferred from my high yield savings account was $1,658, which gave me a total of $1,708 to spend. I spent this $150 exactly. It's an automatic transfer from my checking account to my savings account. I gave my son $32 for subscriptions. YouTube TV came in at $79.92. Netflix at $16.96. My life insurance $55.79. Same every year. My hair appointment is actually $114. That includes color, cut, and a tip, a 20% tip. So, lawn care, $30, but he did not come during this time. So on my first paycheck budget in September, I will not budget for lawn care because I have this $30 sitting and waiting. And then this one was $327 for Peacock. Now, here was a big surprise, and it was a welcome surprise, and it is one of the benefits of budgeting. My electric bill was $0 in August. I put an exclamation point next to that. It's not actually $0. When I went to pay what I thought was my bill, my amount due online, I said pay the entire bill, and I got an error message saying you have to include an amount that is higher than $1. And when I looked, the amount that I was looking at was a negative amount. It was a credit. It is a hard thing to admit that, now I feel so in control of my finances, but that wasn't always true. And I would just kind of wing it. I did okay. But there were plenty of times when I would not pay my bills in a timely way. I knew that they were due. Sometimes I had the money in the account. I just didn't get around to it. I didn't pay attention to the due dates. I paid late fees all the time. In fact, most of the time, because I've said in here that most of my utilities are due in the first half of the month when my mortgage is also due. I couldn't do them both, so I would intentionally delay paying my utilities, and my big utilities, electric, gas, and water, and they would charge me a late fee. And sometimes I'd need to know right away when the kind of how close the due dates were, or it wasn't the due dates that I knew, it was the cutoff dates, because I have had my utilities cut off before for no reason other than inattention. But as most of you know, that means when you have late fees on a regular basis and you have cutoffs occasionally, utilities will charge a deposit. And my electric company was holding a $515 deposit for me. They may be holding more, but this month, due to my payment history over the last year to 2 years since I've been budgeting, they refunded my deposit. This is going to pay my electric bill this month, next month, and very possibly most of the month after that. So that money becomes savings. And it's just a gift in some ways. It feels like, yeah, it comes from bad habits, I admit. But one of the things that I have thought about is how long it takes to build up sinking funds and build up any amount, especially if you're paying $5 or $10 a month. But if you have those sinking funds set up and you go through the frustration of paying $5 or $10 a month and feeling like it's never going to happen, then when something like this happens, you know immediately where you want to put that money, and it goes into savings and not into nickel and dime spending or more eating out. So this was a huge surprise. Instead of paying $235, I paid $0 for my electric bill. Instead of paying $15, my gas bill was $11.72, and my water bill I estimated pretty well at $49.64. 64, yes. And as usual, my T-Mobile was $125. Transferred this $120. That means that my bill total was only $788.30, which left me with $919, $300 more than I anticipated, and 70 cents. Now, I want a good chunk of that. This was estimated at $235. I'm going to put $200 into that utility sinking fund. And I'll do it again next month too. Now, when that utility sinking fund gets too big, when it becomes, it's already large. This has got it into the $700 range. I won't need that. My highest bill this year so far was July, and it was less than $235. So I won't need all of this. But I'll decide on an amount, $500, $750, something like that. Everything over that is going to start going into my sinking funds. And these are the kinds of decisions that you can make once you have this stuff set up, and then you have a month. It could be a magic month if you have 3 paychecks in a month. It could be a return deposit because your habits have improved. Whatever it is, it could be income tax refund. Whatever you have that is a sudden, even a small windfall, you have a place to put it. So let's bring this down, see how I did. I actually did really well with groceries, and that has to do with I had an outpatient surgery and my friends wanted to help out, so they brought us meals. There were 4 different people that brought meals, one that brought snacks. We didn't have to buy as many groceries. That fed me and my son for almost a week. So there was still some eating out. Some of that was for when we were out of town. Because of out-of-town trips, the fuel went a little bit above. Entertainment. This time, I went out and used my card. And I went to a movie and spent $8.21. And so I only put $10 into the envelope. And that's cool. School, spent $19. What did I spend that on? Oh, on a shirt for opening day. We were buying Hawaiian shirts for our house. Everybody in the school was supposed to wear a Hawaiian shirt. So we did that. I ordered something on Amazon. And this was for some more supplements that I was using. This was for eating out for book club and something else, but I'm not sure what it was. All right, so there were some that were over here, but it didn't end up being a lot over because I was under with my groceries. And therefore, I still have $485.50 left. Like I said, 200 of that is going in here. Okay. $485.50. $50 goes into my checking buffer. And $50 is what is visible to me. I actually at one point was afraid that wasn't enough, and I put $200 in there that I keep invisible to me. I don't know, the little ways I try to fool myself. Whatever. This is all the ways the same, the 15 and the 25. That's what I need to go to collect once a month to have the amount that I need in the summer when I pay these bills once a year. Home maintenance, which is my priority, gets 75. Let's see. Then car maintenance got 25. I have an old car. I need to pay attention to that. Pets and vacation got 20 each. This felt great to give them a little bit more than usual. Gifts got 20. Medical and emergency got 10 each. That comes to 270. Subtract that from the 485 and you have 215.50. Well, I've already told you that the 200 is coming out of that. So as you can imagine, the 1550 is what I will use for my savings challenges. And that will lead me to a zero-based budget. For the month of August, that is how I spent my money. This meant that at the end of the pay period, I totaled up all my categories and I did my monthly, where did my month go? I'm going to leave this zoomed in just so I can go as fast as I can, but I will pay attention to what's... Okay, I don't know what I was thinking here, but I filled that out as April and not August. August 2024. All right. Started with my $50 checking buffer. This is the amount that I had from Paychecks, or how I paid myself. That's the extra $5 my son gave me for a total monthly inflow of $3,371. I'm not going to go over every category. I notice the things that are green, because green means I spent less than I budgeted. On my home, that's probably just the round up amount. On the utilities, that was from the deposit. Insurance, the round-up amount. Personal care, the round-up amount plus the $5 that they did not charge me on my membership. I keep an eye on these things. This was round-up. This was stuff I budgeted but didn't spend. In my savings, this is how much more I was able to save. Also, keep track of the red. I spent a little too much in miscellaneous. I'm going to need to watch and see if that is things that I don't need to be spending or I need to be putting in actual categories. Medical was a little more. That's to be expected. Fuel was more. That was to be expected. Food, that's on me. We are, even with that with the amount. This is where I combine my groceries, and I just do a food category, my groceries and my eating out. Even with my groceries being under that one time, I'm still over this much for the month. Okay, but this is the difference between, this is what I spent last month, and these are the differences. Last month I spent $30 less because my yard man came one time less. Last month I spent $106 more, even though this was $85 over budget. Last month it was almost $200 over budget, so that is an improvement. Utilities, obviously I did better because I had that deposit returned. Car and fuel, I was spending more, but I know why that is. Medical, I was spending more. I know why that is. Miscellaneous, I spent more, and I said I want to watch that. And my savings shows that I saved less, but that was because last month in July I got paid for the summer work that I did, and it was nearly $2,100. There's no way I'm going to have that on a normal basis. So this was just outside the norm. This is much closer. 230 or 500 is much, much closer to my normal savings for the month. And that, I believe, is everything for the month of August. Just a moment and I will zoom back out. Okay, so that's all I have for catching you up on August. And I know this is already longer than I hoped, but this gets me caught up, and now I can go back to smaller, more regular videos. I just didn't want to leave it uncaught up. If you have stuck with me through all of this, through my absence and through following my budgets, I really appreciate you. And I hope that you'll comment below. Please leave me a comment about, especially if you're a teacher, how your school year is starting. And if you're not a teacher, how's your budget process going? Have you had any budget wins? Is there anything like a return deposit or some savings that you found? Or even this year, I was one of those who went on my state website and did the treasure hunt and found that there were some funds that I thought were still tucked into a credit union, and they thought I had moved away and they had turned over to the state. So I recovered some funds that way. Have you had any of those special moments where you got a little boost and it made your budgeting journey just feel like it got a little lift? Have any of you had any of those this summer? I'd love to hear about them. I'd love to start some conversations. And until I get back to you with the check-in or the recap on my September budget, I'll see you soon.